And welcome to the 10th episode of Kitchen Talk. I'm Eric Davidson.
And I'm Terrell Story.
So today we're talking about
Almond milk.
yes, we're talking about having a childlike mindset in a strange world that we live in today.
And I'm pouring up Highland almond milk, vanilla flavored. Eric's first day of trying, right?
I've had almond milk. And,
okay. He's had almond milk.
I've
Never mind.
Been there, done that.
Been there, done that. Well, we just introduced vanilla almond milk to a couple of other students.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
With chocolate chip cookies.
With chocolate chip cookies.
Very good.
It was yum. So now I just poured up a little, few little things and click. There we go. It's almond milk. So today we're talking about, what was it again?
So it's having a childlike mindset.
Like me.
In a strange world.
In
Yes.
a strange world, like me.
And me.
So we have childlike minds in a strange world.
Well, like other people, not as much, because they can get, all legalistic, and it's like, oh, it has to be done this way. Like, to an extent, like, going out, paying your bills, taking care of your family.
Those are responsible things.
Those are responsible things.
Which I try to do. He's laughing at me like, I pay my bills?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a house. We have electricity. I have cars. I have
That's
clothes. Food most of the time. Always.
Okay. Anyway, some people can just get so caught up in legalistic that I think they can lose appreciation of the little things, probably.
Okay. So there are times to be serious and adult-like, and adulting hurts a lot of times.
Agreed.
But I do like. I think where we started with the topic earlier today, when it was about safety and having a view of the world that was innocent and childlike. I heard some of that being thrown around.
Yes.
We were throwing out topics.
So I felt like in my mindset when I was about 4 or something, it's like, wow, the world's this great place that I can go out and it's like, oh, it's so colorful and so great, which in reality there are creeps out there saying, like, in white vans saying, hey kid, I got some candy for you, and we know it's not candy.
So in reality, has it ever happened to you? Like a white van goes by in this strange voice, because I always say, hey little kid, want some candy? Because it's always the voice they use that we always think, oh, what a nice guy. Listen to that lovely beckoning voice. And oh, what an adorable automobile he's driving. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, when you're a kid, you don't quite know. But thankfully, I've not experienced any situation similar to that.
Yeah. And I am very grateful that I have not either. And there's a lot of things that do happen in our world that strips us of that innocence, and maybe we're not the ones to really be talking about that, because we haven't had a horrid experience that like stripped us of that childlike innocence, and maybe that's why we're like we are. But I don't know. I don't want it to happen to find out, and I'm glad.
Yeah, but with me and my episode in February or something, just my perspective on the world. I'm just not innocent anymore. It's just
because things happened in a different way. Is that why you're saying that?
Things happened, and just shocking things.
That busted the perfect world for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that like a more something I was able to soak in, like out when I was like going on from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It started to
Okay.
sink in more.
Okay. So I like to pretend that the world is perfect sometimes. I like to think. I have this like Hollywood movie camera going in my head for, let's say, and my wife really hates this because, I, and it may go back to like our perfectionisms in earlier episodes, but like I could be driving home and thinking, oh, I'm going to my home, the wind is blowing just the right amount, and I can feel it going through my hair, and I'm going to go in, and my children and my wife are going to greet me at the door, and it's going to be all warm and fuzzy, and I'm going to smell like this wonderful food that is cooking, and then we're going to sit down at this perfect-looking dining table at just the right time when everything comes out of the oven perfectly, and no one is like, ticked off at each other, and everything is like beautiful and perfect, and your smiles and giggles and hugs and warm and fuzzies. And then there's a reality of that that's not real. So that's kind of where I went with that, with the world being, there are things still to happen, and I see that and I know that, to bust our bubble of going, ugh, life is ugly. I mean, things happen that are wrong, and they happen to people that we're close to, and they happen in the towns we live in. And so that is a reality, but maybe it's like pessimism and optimism as well fighting here.
Yeah.
With the innocence and the safety piece as well.
Your like tip top, perfect household made me think of Mr. Banks from Mary Poppins.
I understand that reference. Yeah, but that's not the world that we really do live in, unfortunately. And there's some tough stuff that happens to us and or to those around us, and we do have to be cautious. I just now thought of something that happened to our house, actually. We typically have, like, our back door is always unlocked. Our cars are always unlocked. It's kind of like the front door is locked, you can't come in and take anything. But you walk in the back and you just walk in and take stuff. And I'm like, we don't really have that many valuables for me to worry about disappearing. But a couple of years ago, my wife and I were out of town, and my daughter was at home alone, and she was 16 or 17 at that time. And I got a frantic phone call from her. We were in a neighboring town. And she's like, this guy tried to get into the house. And I'm like, what? And so she shared the story with me that this guy came and knocked on the back door, but she had noticed him outside, and he had evidently peered through the windows and saw her sitting at the dining room table. And he kind of knocked on the window, and she's like jumped. And then she went to the door and actually was kind of going to lock it, but he was at the door, and he's like, hey, can you help me? And anyway, kind of went through a little dialogue, and she's like, no, I don't have anything, I can't help you. And she tried to lock the door, shut the door then, and he like pushed to try to go ahead and get in the door and not let her shut it. And fortunately, she overpowered him and pushed and locked the door, and then called me, and I'm like, call the police immediately. So we did have to change our perspective on that, just because there were no jewelry or a safe with all of our goods in it that could be stolen. There was that bubble that was burst in our family of, wow, something that is even more valuable than any of those things could have been hurt or damaged. And so we had to kind of take a different approach and be more cautious and more safe. And fortunately, that story has ended fairly well. There was a restraining order and things like that placed upon the guy. And but it did shake my
So-
daughter up quite a bit, and her innocence was shattered in one sense
Yeah.
in that way. And we have had to talk about that a lot, and she's talked to some people about it as well, like because it kind of shook her.
So he didn't necessarily need help. I'm doing like
I don't know if he
I'm-
needed.
I'm doing like the quotes.
Right, yeah, in quotes, help. I don't really know, but if so,
Because
he was trying to do so in a different manner.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was a need or not, and he saw an opportunity and it changed. I do not know. Yeah, those are questions that I don't have the answers for.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was tough. It still is, but that kind of brought some different safety mechanisms into my brain of we need to be more alert. And even though I don't feel threatened, maybe the people around me that I do value are at more of a risk than I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to think it's not true. That's where my innocence still is. I'm like, no. People will not do that, anything bad or
Mm-hmm.
anything to anybody else. I want to think the best first and not the worst.
Yeah.
So, but I do know we have to take precautions,
Mm-hmm.
and we do lock our door more. Like there was a self-defense class that she was taking after that, and there was a mace that she carries and some different things like that, and
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, and I tell my wife every time, be alert, watch. Before you walk out of a place, have your keys ready, have your phone out ready to take a picture, to call, something. Don't be distracted when you're walking from one place to the other.
Mm-hmm.
Look in your back seat before you get in the car. Notice around you, who's around you, what's around you,
Mm-hmm.
those kinds of things. So it's kind of some places in our
Yeah.
area that I guess innocence was
Mm-hmm.
taken in one sense from me for that our community is very safe, which
Yeah.
it is in general. I mean, that's not the norm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, in my experience, we have not, we've not experienced a break-in or anything like that. Very fortunately, but we always take the precaution of locking our vehicles and putting like our mower away, putting bikes away, which sadly happened. Trying to remember if we were gone for a weekend or gone for just a day, something like that. We left out this blue sports bike, and it got swiped, and then my old rackety green bike was still there, which I was happy about because I use it. But
So they chose the better one, but you were glad that your rickety one was still around.
yes.
Aw, see, that's sweet. Oh my gosh.
Well, it's not sweet for my brother because he didn't have a bike anymore.
Oh, so that was your brother's.
But it was a gift from a youth pastor, so he didn't spend a whole lot of money.
But it was still valuable.
Still valuable.
Yeah. It's very interesting you would say that. So we live in a small town of only like 4,000 people.
Correct.
I grew up in the country where all my neighbors were relatives. So that's like we left guns in our pickup and keys were in the ignition and all that stuff growing up as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't think anything about it. I go back to my homestead now, and you definitely don't leave the keys or guns in automobiles now. There's some people in the neighborhood that are very questionable. Nothing bad has happened, again, but there's a different sense. Again, innocence has been lost and not as safe. Like across the road from my parents' home, known drug users and trying to get them out of the area as well. But there's not. There's a risk that is there. Like there's boundaries seem to be respected.
Mm-hmm.
But again, my parents had to take on a different stance because the innocence and the safety that they lived in was at risk because of the people that come into the neighbor's house and just the traffic that was different. And, there's always this like, when is something bad going to happen? like the law officers have been called in, and we don't know why they haven't been able to like make an arrest or change things or whatever. But even there, it's like, are you kidding me? The world knows their users and things are happening. Like, just get it cleaned up, you know. I look at little children that are coming in and out of the house, and I'm like, I want to take them, and I want to like adopt them and raise them in a different environment too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, and that's again a safety and an innocence that's like at risk there again for them. So kind of frustrating. And
yeah, I don't know if, you know, as Christians, God gives us this sort of desire. It's like, this is a broken world.
It is a broken, fallen world, yeah.
It's like, I see this brokenness and I want to go out and fix it, but we need to come to grips with it's not us who can fix it. It's Jesus Christ who can fix it.
And people making a choice to serve and live
to serve him, because
a patterned life after his example.
Because, you know, he might choose some time and moment to work through you to fix some of that brokenness, but is always ultimately him.
And the piece that I go back to is the garden, where it was perfect, it was safe, and we know that Eve gets blamed a lot for the fallen world, but it was both of them.
Mm-hmm.
They were both guilty parties, which sometimes we're so fast to shift the blame on someone else as well. But we do at some point have to take responsibility for our own actions and our own choices, which again, when you said Jesus Christ is the one that can fix it, it is also, yes, that is a true statement in my opinion, but there's a follow-up to that is he will not just do it alone.
Yes,
on his own.
Correct.
And go, oh, that's something messed up, I'm going to fix it. It's, hey, you want to come to me, I will heal, I will work with, I will try to you know, you commit your life to Christ. It's still not going to be perfect, because I've committed my life to Christ. I make wrong choices almost daily or multiple times daily on some days. But I do know that there's hope, because he's going to help me through all those mistakes and through that brokenness as well. Either to cope with it and to get to the other side of it, or to help fix it, or fix it, one or the other. I believe he works in all those ways. Like, I believe he can miraculously fix a situation, but I also believe that he could move us through a situation to get to the other side and to come out different and better. That's my soapbox for that part of it. What else? Safety, innocence, perspective.
Do you think it's good to wrap up right now?
We can wrap it.
Okay.
We can wrap it.
Thanks for listening, y'all.
Okay. We hope you are safe. Hope that you are focusing. I know what I was going to say. Don't go yet.
Okay.
It's sometimes the perspective also. Like, we're talking about all that like doom and gloom stuff, but there is a hope for a new heaven and a new earth, and that brings me joy, because looking to the ultimate future, that is the ultimate.
It's the ultimate peace and safety.
Yeah, I believe there is going to be complete restoration.
Because in the Bible, when Jesus says children come to him, only you can enter the kingdom of heaven if you're like these. That doesn't mean you're run around and be, you know, immature all the time. It's just stop being legalistic about things. Stop being a Pharisee. Be more like a kid.
Childlike faith.
Childlike faith.
I love it.
All right.
That's a wrap. We are out.
That's a wrap with chicken, spinach.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Straight from the kitchen. I get it.
Because it's kitchen talk. All right.
Wrapped up in a nice little tortilla.
All right. Bye,
We'll
guys.
see ya.